Hello everybody, it's I, Flamingo Rider here once again, and yeah, this is gonna be a little more different though than usual. Well, if you want to call it different. So as such, YouTube. Yes, YouTube. Land of the videos where everyone can at least get themselves realized, whether it's for gaming, art industry, or as in this case, the cartoon reviewing community. Now, I personally don't have that much to say on the reviewing community, mostly because of a few things. Because honestly, it's easy to say the reviewing community has their own role models out there. They can be positive role models to give you uplifting and entertaining stuff so they can at least explore to watch, or they can be one of those people that went so far out of their way just to go so far as to, against all odds, just to stomp on your feet because why not? Now, I know what you're thinking, and you're right. Not everyone on the YouTube community is going to be a toxic person. However, if you remember from 2024, man, I miss 2024 despite being a roller coaster of itself for myself personally. Anyways, 2024, I've taken a look at 3 controversial reviewers out there, all of which have their own problems as well. So let's go over one by one. First, there was Rebecca Starlight. She was admittedly the one that actually blew up my channel by storm. And honestly, looking back at these videos, I don't think it comes as no surprise that I personally feel like she's better off the internet, though, for how she abuses her staff, how she underpays her workers to overworking them, and says they're quote-unquote abusers just because she's trying to get the most out of what she can, though. And honestly, as what of a wicked witch she is, though, she's been banished off the internet, so there you have it. And before you ask, no, she wasn't terminated. She just deleted her channel after Mr. Enter's video on how she belongs in prison. So I'd advise watching that before YouTube takes some things away from you. So there's that. Then there was Lily Orchard, a user who I personally had a lot of beef with before Rebecca, but even with that said, however, like Rebecca, she has so many controversies on her table as is that it's hard to put a whole feast on the table as well. What, don't believe me? Well, if it was me, I would tell you guys to watch my video, but I'd rather watch June the King's video if you want a more in-depth look about what he has to say on her, considering he actually went more about it than I could have, though. Plus, even if I did do it, though, I'd be repeating the same thing I already said in my video, so if you want to watch my video or June the King's video, or both, you can pretty much find those if you want to, though, so there's that. And finally, there's Zay Magenta, a user who's always wishing harm on people for literally no reason, and this was admittedly the one that blew my Star Giant Productions video out of the water. It was more popular than I thought it would have, though, and I do thank the people who have seen it, though. Almost by the time of this recording, it has half of almost 2,000 views so far when you get right down to it, though. So, honestly, yeah, I can't say much more than I already said, though, but if you wanted more and seeing what Ozade is like, though, and yes, I know nowadays he's called DS Station, but I thought I mentioned his original username if that wasn't obvious. And before you say anything, yes, I do realize he's still around. It sucks when you realize how much further it can get, can it? But you may have noticed something. All of these reviewers I've mentioned, not only did I talk about them in 2024, but you may have also noticed that they're so controversial that they still have their, well, I hate to be that person, I don't want to say this in front of my audience, white knights to them, though. Rebecca still has troll accounts, Lily still has her people that treat her like a goddess, and then you have Zay Magenta, who, while he does say he wants to change for the better, and yes, by the time I'm making this recording, I am well aware he lost both of his parents, so I do feel sorry for him, though. It makes you wonder what would happen if this does seem like any lore, though. But however, all of these reviewers have nothing to do with today, though, although I will bring them up on occasion. But today, we're looking at a controversial, quote-unquote, reviewer who is so terrible, so far out of left field, so much to the point of toxicity, giving it a bad title into a worse title, and you might as well just call it now. So ladies and gentlemen, and non-binaries and everybody else alike, I give you TrollsBandTogetherFan2001. Now, immediately I know what you're thinking. Really, Flamingo? You can't be serious, right? This is the person you want to talk about for your last few videos? Considering everyone and their grandmother has talked about this reviewer, what can you possibly add to the conversation? Well, let's just say that I have more to say about this reviewer out there than one may think. So I guess there's no other choice but after that intro aside, let's get started. So it's easy to say that everybody has already done a video on Trolls Band Together 2001, right? Okay, for the purpose of this video, I'm just gonna call him Alex for two reasons. One, it's much easier to say, and two, I'm not sticking my tongue in a blender just to say this username all the time. Seriously, you try saying his username so goddamn fast that you can't even keep up though. Anyways, who is Alex at this point? Well, for most of you, you probably know, but for the sake of this video, let's pretend we don't. Now, Alex on this platform is a reviewer, I guess you could say that. In this case, he's also a ranter, to the point where he'll rant on any movies he comes across, whether they're praised or they're movies that actually don't fit his category. Well, Jesus Christ, I didn't know having a movie that someone else likes was a sin. And I'm not shitting you when I say that this guy will do anything to make himself look better by comparison by saying these movies suck for literally no reason. And I mean literally no reason. He doesn't give any reasons. He doesn't elaborate on what he likes or dislikes. He just says, I only like this movie or dislike this movie because the animation or something about the characters or the stories about something that doesn't click though. Okay, I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt that yes, online there's a thing called unpopular opinions, which every time I go online, there are going to be people out there who are willing to give their opinions on stuff that they have seen, or probably at the very most, if you can, you don't have to elaborate on what makes it likable or dislikable to do so. I mean, that's what the ratio is there for, right? Oh, wait, we're living a different timeline, never mind. Hell, even if you go on his YouTube page, you're gonna see nothing more than just him ranting on stuff and sometimes animals and other pieces of media. Hell, even some of them don't even clock in the minute mark, so it makes me wonder, why the hell does he make these so-called rants if he's not gonna do anything with them? Even to the movies that you would say, hey, that's, if anything, could be better than ever, though. I mean, yeah, there are some movies he does like. Let's see. He did say he likes K-pop Demon Hunters, which I don't even want to think about implications of that, but okay. Then there's also, wait, why Smurfs 2025 rocks and Superman 25 in 2025 sucks? Okay, for those who are watching this, I know you guys are probably going on aneurysm now. Wait, Bluey rant? Oh, now you're starting to piss me the fuck off. Yeah, honestly, you can definitely tell that these videos don't even clock in the minute mark, and they only go on saying rants, and what's more, he doesn't further elaborate on what he is saying, though. Either he just doesn't full pay attention, or he just walks out of the movie theater without giving any sort of reasons behind it, though. So yeah, if anything, I'm just gonna say this right here and now while I'm still here. It's been established that I personally find rants kind of pointless. Now, I know what you're thinking, and sometimes it can be used to give criticism. But the rants that some of these people online I've seen do, and I'm not saying this with disrespect or anything, but every time I see someone do a rant, they sometimes don't elaborate on why they don't like said stuff. Like, you can elaborate or explain yourself, though. It doesn't have to be in depth if you don't want to do it, but at least explain or elaborate on what you don't like about said movies. And if not, well, I can't help you with that. But speaking of the things that he does like, I'm just going to go over a few of them just so you can get a fresh breather of what this guy does. So let's move on to the next chapter. Now, it's easy to say that everybody has a different taste in media, and honestly, there is a thing called unpopular opinions, as I alluded to earlier, and there are times when even a movie you like actually does seem like it could resonate with you pretty well on a deep level. But the way this guy does it makes me question things. So let's go over the things that he does like. I'm not going to go over in detail of what I think about Trolls, not Trolls, K-pop Demon Hunters, because honestly I don't want to give out spoilers and it might piss people off if that was the case though. So let's talk about the movies that he does like. Let's see, he likes Inside Out, both the movies. Okay, so not bad so far, except for the fact that he has a crush on some of these characters. bro, you do realize that these are emotions. Emotions are not humans. Yes, they emote people's personality just to emote how they feel and everything, though, but you do realize these are emotions. They're not really anything that's really worth saying they're a crush on. Like, even when he says he had a crush on Joy and Disgust, can I just say I'm kind of disgusted now how he's. Okay, so what other movies does he like? Is there any other films that he does like? Well, yes, there are. He does like the Trolls movies, and yeah, I'm just gonna say this right here and now. I can't remember which character he said that he has a crush on. As of the time making this video, he did say that in one of his older videos before, wait for it, before he got terminated. Yeah, I will get to that. I will cross that bridge sometime, so hopefully for the best we'll get to that. But Trolls? Okay, I haven't seen all the Trolls movies, and by the time I'm making this video, I've only seen the first one, so I can't really give a more in-depth look of how I feel about Trolls. But seriously, dude, you have a crush on one of these Trolls? I'm no expert on how old these Trolls are supposed to be, but can I just say it's quite creepy that you have a crush on one of these Trolls? I mean, again, I don't think you have to have an age verification or anything, but this is just weird, even for my sake. And let's not forget that he also likes the Wreck-It Ralph movies. Alright, so I will say when it comes to the Wreck-It Ralph movies, again, like Trolls, I haven't seen all of Wreck-It Ralph. The only things I've seen of it so far are the first movie, and that's about it. I can't really say for sure if, what the second one's like, but based on the reviews I have seen, like Mr. Enter and other reviewers, I did hear negative things about it, so I'm not so sure if I want to cross that bridge while I still can't know. That being said, however, I do question what this guy's taste in media, though. Though I will admit there was one thing which I won't show you because I don't want anyone losing their sanity, including mine, while I'm still here. But there's also the fact that he likes cuties. Excuse me for a minute. What? He likes cuties? You mean the same movie where they had underage girls going so far as to do inappropriate acts on there? Oh, but I hear what you guys are saying. He says that there's nothing is working in his eyes. Oh, screw you, Alex. I don't know what you're smoking or drinking. I don't know if it's 420. Actually, I shouldn't put party crashers into this video. They deserve more love than they realize. And honestly, yeah, that's one thing I don't understand. Though, like, you're saying that Cuties is a good movie, and yet that's just I need a break. So, well, let me just go for a little timeout. So here's a 30-second break. Well, you're still here. Okay, we're back. So, where was I? Oh yeah, you're talking about cuties. Okay, let's go in depth with this. Not entirely in depth, but I need to at least say this right here and now. I need to put this needle in the bush while I still can. So, you like Trolls, you like Inside Out movies, and also you like Wreck-It Ralph movies, and you also like cuties. Thank God that we don't have to deal with cuties on Netflix anymore, because seriously, I feel really, really bad for those girls anyways. And here's the sad fact about it. Yeah, I'm not calling it fun fact. You tell me if you want to call it fun fact. I hope you don't, because I don't want to hear it. Cuties in of itself, and this will be one thing I will say I agree about for, say, Magenta. He had every right to get angry about, what's the guy's name? Black Critic Guy, where he defended the movie, and so many others, like Mr. Girl. Yes, a user goes by Mr. Girl, or he used to. I don't think he's on his platform anymore, but hopefully that's for the best. But yeah, apparently this guy just goes so far as to say things like, oh, the Cuties is a good movie after that. I don't know what to say other than I'm probably gonna be rolling in my grave soon. And I'm not even dead yet! Yeah, seriously though, this doesn't make any sense. Why are you defending a freaking movie like that? Now, as for the other movies, okay, I'm not gonna show DeviantArt, because I did hear he did have a DeviantArt account, or he still does. I don't know, because I don't really care enough to elaborate on what goes on there. And honestly, DeviantArt does have their problems, if you know what I'm saying. Not to say everyone has a problem there, though. I did see some people create fan art there, and sometimes they do write blogs, which honestly is how I got some info about Rebecca Starlight, though. And this does bring the question of how did he get away with it back then or so? In case you guys don't know what I'm talking about, the guy himself made Poppy look like she used some kind of weapon. I'm not going to say what kind of weapon it is because I don't want anyone to think otherwise, but it's pretty clear to me that he goes so far as to use Poppy, put a weapon in her arms, and just make it look like he's going so far as to get this, go after people just for either agreeing or disagreeing with a movie that he likes or dislikes, though. And honest to God, the guy is so opinionated that it hurts. And now that I think about it, when he doesn't elaborate on something, I have to at least come forward when I say this. Does this guy so far know that when you praise a movie, what else are you supposed to do? Like, okay, the way you can say is that he does praise the movies I did allude to, but Cuties, that in itself you shouldn't be praising. As for the other movies, yeah, I don't think he's just praising them. I think he's more like he's obsessed over them. Now, don't get me wrong, there are things that people will fixate over, though. Hell, it's called hyperfixations, if you haven't noticed. Not only autistic people do this, at least I think a lot of people do this themselves, but I don't think they would go this far, unless you're someone who would fetishize these there. Yeah, I'm not going to go into detail with that, but I'm sure that's really one of the reasons why so many people would go so far out of their way just to think that that's okay, though. But speaking of movies that he doesn't like, you probably guessed it, but let's move on. As you've probably guessed by now, this guy seems to have a problem with people who disagree with him on said movies, though. What you'll notice is that he doesn't just gross them out to the point where he'll make them exhausted. But let's go over some of the movies he does like. And spoiler alert, I will say there are some things that in this video there will be things that I will mention, so get used to that. But let's go to the obvious that everybody seems to always talk about, the Spider-Verse movies. Now, if you're a fan of Spider-Man, or even if you are a fan of animation, or just both in general like I am, you would already know how much the Spider-Verse movies are freaking banging. And I mean that. These movies are gold. The animation is stellar, the characters are pretty good with their chemistry, and what's more, it's really great what it does that. Yeah, there are going to be other movies that will come out, like say the next one will be in 2027. My god, I feel like I'm getting old now that I say that out loud. But the Spider-Verse movies are really awesome. Seriously, if Sony Pictures Animation Studios anything to judge by, I have to wonder how they got themselves into these movies while still making them. And honestly, the way they do this animation is right up there with the Mitchells versus the Machines, and as well as say the movie K-pop Demon Hunters, as I alluded to before. All of those movies, in my opinion, show that they really knew where to put their budget, and I really wonder how they did it. Even their writing is top-notch when you think about it, but unfortunately when it comes to Alex, it goes without saying he doesn't like these movies. You don't want to know why? Okay, let's get this out of the way. The first movie is freaking bonkers, what I'm about to say to you. What I'm about to tell you guys is gonna make you feel either question yourselves, confused, or a combination of the two of them. I really can't tell. But I can tell you it do the latter for me, though. So, what does he say about the first Spider-Verse movie? Well, for one reason, I don't know if it's just me, but for some reason, he says that the first Spider-Verse movie's animation looked like Food Fight and Norm of the North. Where do I even begin with this? I really need to have a moment, so let me just take a deep breath first. So, let's nip this in the bud while we still can. And I'll try to stay as calm as I can, but I can't make any promises. So let's go over these two movies. Spider-Verse movies that look like Food Fight and Norm of the North or even worse than that, you say? Okay, I haven't seen both movies, but judging the movies for myself on other reviewers, I gotta say their animation looks god awful, but if you look anything to it so far though. And let me just say this for the record. Obviously, this is one thing I have to state right here and now. The food fight movie, yeah, let me just say this for the record. It was in production since 2002. Yeah, a year here after you were born, Alex. And this was during the time when they were getting all of their sources straight when doing so, and over millions of dollars, and it still looked like shit in 2012 compared to other movies, like say the polluted movie I mentioned earlier, the Wreck-It Ralph movies. Somehow you don't have a problem with that and still have a fit with that. I don't understand the logic of this guy. Is he saying that he doesn't like this because it's just he doesn't like the Spider-Verse movies all because of its animation? Well, you gotta give more than that, dude. And I might as well just talk about as well as Norm of the North. So, yeah, even if I haven't seen the movies, judging by the reviewers I've seen, it does not look all that great. Judging the animation for Norm of the North is like judging rocks between pebbles. They're really something that you have to wonder. It's like judging rocks between that and as well as a stick of butter. Do they even remotely look the same in quality or anything like that? Because honestly, I cannot tell you how much it really bothers me when it comes right down to it, though. Like, for the life of God, though. Maybe I'm reading too much into it if I ask this question, but can anyone tell me if North of the North looks any better than it already is, though? I'm only asking this because every time I look at reviewers watch this movie for themselves, which I feel bad for, yeah, there are plenty of people who have discussed about this, but moving on. But it's pretty clear to me that when I look at Norm of the North, it looks awful, too. Not as bad as Food Fights, personally, but it's still pretty bad. What do I mean? Look at this movie and tell me. The textures are pretty lame. The backgrounds are pretty ugly. The character designs are god-awful. And what's more, it's basically an environmentalism movie. Now, I would say anything about the environment in of itself, though, but we don't have that much to go over. But I personally feel like a lot of kids aren't going to be invested in that unless they really care, like, say, Mr. Beast. Yeah, but other than that, I can't really say too much on that, considering I don't think a lot of kids want to see just environment movies for the sake of it, though. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this, though, but I know what some of you guys are thinking. Wait, Flamingo, did you hear that he says that they're not realistic to him? Any of these movies? Strap yourselves in, because this is going to be a bumpy roller coaster. Okay, when it comes to movies being quote-unquote realistic in terms of animation, now, I myself, you already know this for the billionth time. I'm no animation expert on what goes on there, but I do know that it takes a while to make an animated movie. They put their blood, sweat, and tears in said movies, and honestly, when you look at something like this movie, you would already know how much they put their forth and effort to it, though. I mean, say what you want about the statics, and sometimes it's into bright colors or anything like that, though, but I feel like it really felt like the comic book-esque movie you've seen in other movies, though, such as Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. But honestly, just saying it doesn't look realistic, dude, I don't know if you've noticed, but the movies you've watched don't have realistic designs either. And this is animation. Animation is limited to what they can do with their own style, though. Yeah, there are some animators out there that wish they could do something like, say, boost up more than that, even though animation is quite expensive. Make no mistake, it makes perfect sense that it takes a while, though. But it's pretty obvious that despite all of that, it seems to me the guy himself just clearly goes so far in saying things like, oh, this movie doesn't look all that great, or something like that. And let's not mince words here. The characters he goes so far as to not like are just frustrating to listen to. For example, let's go over Gwen Stacy. Now, Gwen Stacy, in my opinion, is one of the characters I actually love the most out of the tier characters. Yes, there's Miles. Yes, there's Peter. Yes, there are other characters, but Gwen has always been my favorite out of the Spider-Verse movies, if it wasn't clear already. And don't say it's because she has girl power or anything like that. No, I have my reasons why I like. So here are reasons why I like her though. She's intelligent, she's pretty quick-witted, she's very kind, and while she does have her stubbornness here and there though, and while yes, you could argue these are bland character traits though, over time you actually do see her grow as a character and moving on from all that deadpan snarker and stuff like that. Sure, you could say that in the Spider-Verse movies, the first one anyway, she does have those moments when she was around Miles times though, but I personally feel like that's how teenagers can be at times though. Hell, I used to act all like that sometimes too though. So what does Alex say? Hey, why he doesn't like Alex? You're not ready for this. I double shit you not when I say this though. You're not gonna like the reason why he doesn't like Stacy. So get this. The reason why he doesn't like Gwen Stacy is all because of her hairstyle. This guy is going so far as to say that's the only reason why you don't like Gwen Stacy? Question. Does anyone think that's a poor ass reason, or better for worse yet though, that's not even a reason you should not like a character? Just saying. Mind you, I've seen this type before when I used to go on Amino app. Yeah, stupid ass me went on Amino app. I didn't think I would mention it after the list from the Jose list, but here. And I'm not gonna mince words with you though. This actually did happen when I was asking why people did not like Nico Robin from One Piece. And the reason for it was almost the same reason for the reasons you may assume. They only didn't like her all because of her tan skin. Okay, one, I hate to go off topic about this here, but I need to ask this now. How does tan skin make you a character you shouldn't like? Now, I will admit, yes, Nico Robin didn't really have tan skin in the manga. She had more like pale skin or something like that. But second of all, that's still no reason why you should not like a character. If it's because she's too quiet, or because she's stubborn, or something like that though, or maybe because of how morbid she can be at times, I really don't think that's the case though. But if that's the case though, newsflash, a lot of people can be stubborn at times. Hell, I can be stubborn at times too when you get your head in the gutter like that. You, on the other hand, Alex, you just happen to like Gwen Stacy all because of her hairstyle. How much of a shallow idiot do you have to be to think like that? And let me just say this for the record. Does anyone, aside from me, find that not just no reason, but it doesn't really explain why you don't like it? Oh, but I hear what you're saying though. Flamingo, he only says he doesn't like her hairstyle because she said so. She said that, right? She may have said it if she was breaking the fourth wall, but honestly, she only said that towards Miles. She said towards Miles, you're not supposed to like my hairstyle, or something along those lines. I haven't seen the movies in a long time, so there you have it. But let me just say, I'm just saying, there's a reason why people still find that very stubborn. Like, seriously, though. Oh, you mean to tell me the only reason why you don't like her is because of her hairstyle? Way to flush a new load, dude. And that wasn't the only character he doesn't like in the movie. The other character he doesn't like is Mayday. If you don't know what I mean, allow me to bring a quick recap of what I have to say, though. See, the reasons why he doesn't like Mayday are just so petty and petulant that I can't even begin to describe why he doesn't like Mayday. Now, I will say, you don't have to like every character. That's true. But just saying why you don't like Mayday, it also makes me want to rage. Now, it's been established that I'm someone who takes care of kids. And honestly, when you go so far as to say that you don't like Mayday because of two reasons that I cannot comprehend, that's just a new low. Like, seriously, the one reason he says he doesn't like Mayday is because she's going to be the new Ice Age baby. I've seen the Ice Age movie when I was a kid, and last year I did watch it after years to come. And can I just say, while the animation may not look all that appealing, I will admit to that, the only reason why people complain about the Ice Age baby is because of how he looked and everything like that. Or she. I don't know what the gender is for the baby, so I guess that's all there is though. So let me just preference into saying that just because you don't like Mayday and saying that she's gonna be the next Ice Age baby, it's just a new low, dude. And I don't even know why this guy just goes so far as to say that he wishes he could throw her off a cliff or something like that. Dude, that's child abuse. Do you not realize that you could freaking kill the baby that way? If you don't realize that, I hope you're not around kids, because otherwise, shit like this is why, and stuff like this is one of the reasons why it could never be like that. And let me go so far as to ask you guys the question. The worst part of all of this is when he compares the animation to the second movie. Now, maybe it's just me, so I could be saying something out of my ass when I ask this question, but I need to ask, was there anything different between the first and the second movie's animation? Maybe I'm overlooking something that I don't see, but both movies look equally great to me in my eyes. I mean, if you're a fan of the Spider-Verse movies, please let me know if I'm missing something out or something. But yeah, apparently this guy goes so far as to say things like, oh, the movie's animation is worse than the second movie. It's worse than the first movie. And then all of a sudden, what's all said and done, he just goes so far as to say, and I shit you not, saying this is the 9/11 of movies. What? What? Okay, so I need to drive this home while I still can. There are some things I need to discuss. For one thing, I must say, even if I don't like calling myself American, I still feel pretty bad. At the very least, I still feel pretty bad what we've gone through. Yeah, I'm that deeply devastated about our people who's going through a lot. And honestly, even if they do have their moments, here's the thing though. When you compare an animation to 9/11, that's where I lose all patience. At least that's from me though. But I'd be a hypocrite if I said that though, because there was one person who compared something to 9/11. Don't believe me? Remember when Mr. Enter used to compare her turning red to 9/11 when he did that video back in 2022 in his Turning Red is a Mixed Bag video? I know it's probably archived or maybe it's not up anymore, I wouldn't know. But here's the thing. Do you know what I will say about Mr. Enter? At least he took accountability for that. He never went so far as to do this other heinous shit, and while you could argue he did do stuff like, say, something about the Casey Alexander situation years ago and so much other stuff, but here's the thing. Mr. Enter at least evolved to be better than he is, though. Yeah, he does have his moments, and while I admit I don't know what's he like, though, as a person, because I've never spoken to him. I've only asked a question on one of his live streams, and let me tell you, though, he sounds like a pretty decent guy. Not the best guy in the world, not that kind of parasocial, though, but still a decent guy. But at least Mr. Enter, when he did something like that, at least he took accountability for it. Sure, he does have his flaws, and make no mistake, we all have flaws. It's not just Mr. Enter. But the difference is that if you don't learn from those flaws, how are you gonna master from that by going on to the next space after that? Isn't that part of learning? Oh wait, I'm talking about Alex, never mind. But let's talk about the other places that he has talked about. Now, before we get any further on this chapter, I need to discuss something right here and now. I don't know if this guy is xenophobic because he did make insults on both Canada and the UK. Yeah, he didn't just insult the US though. Yeah, for someone who blames the US for stuff like that, still, new low, dude. And even I don't like that, even for what I'm going through. However, as much as I have to say though, when I tell you that this guy used to, I don't know if he does it still, but he used to do stuff by saying things that come right out of his mouth without thinking about it first. So let's go over Canada for a sec. Now, anyone who's been on my channel already knows that I had two people on my channel who are from Canada, Tina and Maddie. And honestly, if those two are watching this video, I'm just gonna come out and say this, though, you guys, and along with any other friends you have from Canada, I feel bad for you guys for what you go through. And honestly, I wouldn't know how else to say it because I've never been to Canada. Hell, I don't know what's it like there. I do know they have their issues here and there, but honestly, I can't necessarily say how I feel about them if I can't give a proper judgment on that, though. Sometimes I wish living there would be an option, but I can't do that for obvious reasons. But let me ask you guys the question, especially those who are Americans. Can I just ask you guys the question, if you guys have anything against said place, can I just ask you guys, what would happen if you said that you personally had a problem with a place that you would do? You would keep your mouth shut about it, right? Or better yet, you would basically go so far as to say nothing at all if you want to keep that ground shut, though. And honestly, when it comes to Canada, I don't know if it's just me, but someone did say this, and I can't confirm this, how he wants to nuke Canada. If you guys are from Canada, can I just ask, do you see what I mean when I say I'm losing my sanity over this guy? Do you see why? I can't honestly came to tell you how much this really hurts me. Like, more than it. Like, I'm losing more of my marbles more than I already do, though. And can I just say for the record, I know I shouldn't bring these three up on the table, but can I just say when it comes to someone like Rebecca, or Lily, or Zayn Magenta, the closest thing I can say is that I don't think those three ever said anything about places they ever bashed on. I don't think they ever did. I know they called people some random stuff online, that I do know, but saying stuff like this around Canada just isn't right. And even if you aren't from Canada, you have to at least understand that they can't do all they can. That's what they can, though. I don't know what goes on down there, but if it's anything to judge by, it's really messed up in some ways. In other ways, I wish them nothing but the better for them, no. I know I shouldn't say that, considering someone's gonna get mad at me if I say that, but honestly, what else am I supposed to say about it anyways, though? This just goes without saying that I can't tell you how much this hurts me. But by far, how would you like it if he said something about in the UK? At the time period we are now, I don't think there's ever been a time as any when it comes to the UK of all. Now, like Canada, I don't know if this guy is xenophobic around the UK, but during the terms we have to say right now, the UK has their problems as well. I mean, let's put this on the record. Obviously, every place you go to has their struggles. They have their own problems. And honestly, it's hard for them to at least boost up at times, though. So when I tell you that there's something about in the UK I have to tell you, then you're going to be disturbed with what I'm about to tell you, because otherwise I wouldn't know what this guy's problem is. So let's talk about the James Bond movies. As much as I have to say it, though, I'm not so sure what happens in these James Bond movies. I know for a fact he's an iconic character from the UK. That I do know. And hell, he's iconic here in the US. But even with that said, however, I get that some people are going to say that he's no longer here and what stuff like that. However, how would you feel if I told you what he said about the movie No Time to Die? And let me just say this for the record, I haven't seen No Time to Die. But from the time of making this video, I'm probably not going to because of how much he spoiled the movie. Yeah, this guy loves to spoil movies if it wasn't obvious, if you didn't want to get that far. Now, I can't personally talk about No Time to Die because, again, I haven't seen it. But judging for how this guy goes so far as to say how he felt when, spoiler alert, James Bond dies at the end of the movie, guess what his reaction was? He said that he was applauding when James Bond died and said, finally, and all that stuff. This makes me wonder, would he really dance on the graves if someone that he was close to has died, though? Like, seriously, this is what I mean when I say his opinions go off the roof at times, too. I have no idea how YouTube would allow this back when he did this, and what's more, I can't tell whether or not this was supposed to be a trolling or anything like that. Like, Alex, I hope you, for the sake of you, don't go to funerals, because if this is anything to judge by, I hate to see how you'd react if someone asked to give you your eulogy after that. And honestly, I'd be better off dead after that too, I have to say, though. Seriously, though. And can I just say, for the opinion stuff, I need to drive this home while I still can. I know this video is going as long as it can, though, because I'm trying to get as much as I can out of this guy, if I can. But honestly, it needs to be said here. So you would think that's for opinions, he would go so far as to just do this just to people that are his audience, or to everyone else on YouTube. Well, apparently he does it to his former friends, and get this, his family. Where do I start with this? Okay, one thing's for sure, when it comes to having opinions online, I can at least say that, yeah, there are going to be different opinions out there. Some people will like stuff, other people won't like stuff. It's in our nature. It's in our human Let's see if anything to judge by. But the way this guy just goes so far as to say things like, "Oh, we should to go against all odds," just makes me baffled inside, though. And the way he does this just makes me feel bad for his family. Like, okay, you may not agree with everything with your family, and that's fine. Everyone has an opinion on their families, what their family has beliefs into, what they like and dislike, though. Hell, my family has different things that they like and dislike, and I'm cool with that. But this guy just doesn't seem to get that every time someone has an opinion, you'll just disrespect them and think otherwise. You know, I know we're not going by what he thinks, though, but wouldn't it be hilarious if they tried to stomp him on the ground to see how he likes it? I know that would be pretty harsh to do in itself, though, but I would like... and then wonder what would happen, though. This guy is in his 20s, and he's acting like more like a child than anything. And yeah, I get it. Man-child. Ha ha ha. But the man-child thing he does, though, is just through the roof. Like, more than through the roof. It's like through the sky, no less. It makes me wonder, why does he do this all the time, though? Granted, I know some people are going to think otherwise. As a wise man once said, opinion is between knowledge and ignorance. And honestly, I can definitely tell this guy follows the ignorance route. And look, I'm not here to tell you guys about how I feel about everything about this whole thing, but I think it's about time we close out by talking about the last chapter and the conclusion of all this. So let's get them over with. So it really goes without saying that, even with that said, however, you might be asking yourself, why in hell is Alex doing this? Well, either he's doing this because of attention, or he just wants to get off the ground as much as possible. And I'm not going to mince words here, though. Everybody online, even though it's going to be hard for me to stomach this, though, wants attention. Hell, sometimes people want attention for one or two reasons. Either they want attention just to show off what they can explore from themselves, or they can just go so far as to say things about what goes on and everything else, though, just to stomp on people's feet. And I hate saying that, but I don't like it when people just walk on eggshells for no other reason other than they thought, hey, you're one to talk when it comes to opinions like this. And look, I'm not here to tell you guys what to do. I'm not your narrator, as it previously established. But even with that said, however, it just makes you wonder, does this guy seem to have a problem with people in general when it comes to having opinions and so on? If so, then this is just not the way to do it, though. Like, seriously, I've seen many people on my channel as bad as they were, though. Rebecca Starlight went so far as to overwork her employees to the point of exhaustion, and she always calls them abusers because of that, though. Then there's Lily Orchard, who, for the sake of this, wrote a fan fiction, Stockholm, and so many other stuff, and did some other controversial stuff, even to the people who spoke out about it, even Courtney Pete in some way. And there's also Zay Magenta, who wishes harm on people, which is a dangerous act enough as it is, sure, but it's also pretty clear that I know that he has issues. Alex, however, he does things because he just wants to prove himself that he's right and we're wrong. And honestly, it's really hard for me to stomach this, though. So I guess about time now, we might as well just say this right here and now. I'm not going to be one of those people who's going to tell these people what to do. And trust me, when I say that, that's not me saying this to be a bitch or anything like that. I can be kind of a fuck up at times, but those fuck ups usually have to go through exploring themselves. And here's the thing, though. If you don't learn from your mistakes, you'll never grow from them. That's the key thing you have to understand, though. It's why I did videos on these here said people, and when I did my take-ons, though, even though I shouldn't have done those, but hey, if it wasn't for those take-ons, I probably wouldn't have met a lot of my friends anyways, though. Not even my friends who were on my channel. Yet Tina and Maddie are both really great people, and a lot of you guys are as well. You guys mean the world to me, and I wouldn't have it either way when it comes to this. But when it comes to someone like Alex, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm just going to say this right here now. I'm going to nip this in the bud while I still can. People say that you always want attention on YouTube, and on some level I can understand that. But let's just say the attention you get is probably one that you have to seek out. Whatever attention you want, you should give them the attention that you deserve, not the kind that you don't. By the time of making this recording, I was originally going to say how I felt about all of this. And honestly, I don't even know where to start. I guess for starters, I can definitely say that this was definitely not something I wanted to do, though. And in fact, on some level, I can understand why some people would be so upset about this. I didn't want to talk about Alex from TrollsBandTogetherFan2001. I didn't want to end my story off like this, but the more I thought about it, the more I started realizing that there are going to be people out there who are willing to do whatever it takes to get themselves popular online, or vice versa, just do it because why the hell not? And the more I read about it, the more I started realizing there's going to be tons of people out there who are willing to do whatever it takes, though. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that YouTube, or whatever platform you're on, you're going to find them doing whatever they want to do on this platform as well, though. And on some level, I can understand that. But the only reason why I'm saying this, most importantly, is because I personally can't tell you how much it hurts me. Like, it's like Mother Nature taking a storm and just going into just to ruin everything like that, though. And by the time I'm making this video, it's really one of those cases where I'm gonna be sad. Not just because this, along with a live stream video I have planned to do, since that'll be the last video I'll make on this channel, but it's also pretty clear to me that in spite of what some people might say to you, and everyone else though, you should not let everyone get the worst out of you anyways, though. You are all amazing in your own way, and don't let anyone talk you down. Not Rebecca, not Lily, not Magenta, and especially not Alex. I did not want to make this video as much as I have, though, but due to how much I've gone through, how much this struggles with me, my journey has no happy ending. And in fact, I know for a fact that there's no way I can resort to this. I know some people are thinking to themselves that maybe I should have just calmed down and think otherwise, though. But if I have to be honest, this is definitely the case where I personally feel like the more I think about it, the more I start to realize a lot of people, myself included, have to find whatever we're bound to do to get noticed. And if we don't do anything to get ourselves out there, then that's really a variety of choices, though. I know that in some cases, some people are just gonna say to me that this is part of everyone's doing, and sometimes we have to do our best to do whatever we can. But if I'm being completely honest here, I can't fault the people who fell into these traps. Even if you are someone like these people, that would have been the process if we wouldn't have got ourselves out of it. Let me put it to you this way. One of the things that I will say is that there are going to be people who will help you if you are close to them. Hell, there are some people out there who are willing to help people get out of these situations. Rebecca has tortured her people to the point where exhaustion had to go along. She didn't care who she hurt as long as she got the high ground. Lily is still going out there making videos to put LGBT and politics into her videos to make a quote-unquote good point of them. And the same can be said when it comes to Magenta, where he wants to make his point by wishing harm on people for something that these people didn't have anything to do with it. And Alex, however, he is one of those people that just doesn't seem to understand that people are going to disagree with him regardless of what he likes and dislikes. I have to state this. This is not the video I wanted to end the book on. I want to do a live stream on Thursday, if anything to judge by, but if it's anything I have to say right here and now, it's clear to me that there are going to be so many people who are willing to do whatever it takes to get themselves popular, or worse yet, get themselves noticed because I said so and no one else said it to do so already. What I'm trying to say here is that there are times when you have to know what kind of attention you want. And if you don't ever think about what kind of attention you want, that's your right. No one's gonna force you into what's there and what's that and what's everything else in this whole world, if anything, to judge by. I'm gonna say this right here and now. Whatever path you choose is the path you fall under. Don't ever go down the wrong path. Just don't ever go down the wrong path. And if you do, well, I can't stop you from being dumb. I can at least say from the bottom of my heart, I did not want to close the book on something like a controversial user like this guy. And it goes far without saying that there are going to be people out there who are willing to do whatever it takes to get themselves noticed. And on some level, I can understand that there are some people I do intend watching. But after what's going on with YouTube from the US, the UK, and as well as, say, Australia and Europe, I don't really think there's any choice for me though. I wish there were times where I could hang out with my friends. I want to be close to those around me. But the only way I can chat with them is if I have to say I can only talk to them when I have the chance to. And with what's going on recently, and as well as the whole thing though, as well as the AI backfire thing though, I just cannot tell you how much I didn't want to close my book off by saying this was doomed to have something like this though. And before you get mad at me, I know that some people are thinking that I should have gone off on a high note. And it really sucks when you have to go on a dour note. It really does. I have to state this. If my friends and all of you guys are still watching this video, by the end of it, I want you all to know you guys should not give up on your dreams, your hopes, and anything else out there. It's pretty clear to me that, in spite of what some people may tell you, don't ever let people talk down to you. Don't ever let people tell you you're never gonna make it. Because, let's be honest though, those people probably gotta talk down to themselves too, or they're probably just saying that because they envy your talent. I had this happen to me too if it wasn't obvious. And when it comes right down to it, I personally have to say this right here and now. Nobody deserves to be talked down to. Whether you find this enjoyable or not, it's completely up to you. I know that this will probably be the last video I'll ever make on something like this that's according to controversial reviewers, but honestly, it's really the most hard way to stomach though. And when I do my live stream, I just hope it's a higher note to leave out on than what dour note I had to leave out on this. So with that said, however, just remember to stay safe, everybody. You guys are my knight in shining armor. You guys mean the world to me. I don't know how I could have done this without you guys. You guys mean everything from the bottom of my heart. And let me just state this right here and now. I could not have been doing it this far if it wasn't for you guys. With that said, however, I thank you all so much for watching. See you all in the last video I'll be doing on my channel, and yeah, I hope to God that it'll be the best note I can leave out on this channel. Because if you guys already see my community posts and know what's going on YouTube, then you know, Other than that, well, I'll see what happens next. So, see ya.